Die, robot. I didn't notice you there. That was just a fun little joke. You see, I didn't really even have a controller in my hand. There wasn't any game playing. That was all purely conjured up from my mind. And that should give you a little key insight into how much of a veteran gamer I truly am. I've been gaming all my life. In fact, I remember back before gaming was cool, the bullies used to pick on the gamers. A lot of you may not remember, but I remember a time when the bullies, they used to call gamers, they used to call us, they'd spell it Gaymers. They were such nasty homophobes. The world was so sick and depraved at that time. Yeah, they would actually call us that as an insult. They would Gaymers. They'd be holding a big poster at a gaming convention calling us that, and we would have to, our faces would turn red. But of course, I was someone that was always sort of on the Billy Mitchell level. I was a guy that even at the time when gamers were sort of pariahs, I was still well respected and venerated by all. Yes, you could say I'm a lucky guy, but you could also say I'm a guy that's earned every accolade he has. I don't like to toot my own horn. I'm not that type of guy, but I'm just showing you that you should know I'm very well informed, very well researched on all things gaming, so you can trust what I say here, okay, folks? I'm a veteran. So I just ask that you show me my due respect and that you enjoy the video. In fact, I command you to enjoy the video. And that sort of harkens back to one of the famous quotes I've come up with. A lot of things that a lot of you maybe say over Xbox Live or over the telephone or over a Skype call to your gaming friends. I came up with a lot of those famous phrases. Like, for example, when you kill a guy on a game and then you say, "Drop and give me 20, dog." Or maybe you've heard of this classic insult, "You're no gamer, drop and give me 20. Now, I hope many of you can appreciate the attention to detail I'm showing by wearing a blue shirt in this video. Okay, fans, now that my veteran credentials are well established, let me introduce you to the video. We're going to be talking about smurfing. You've probably heard of it before. Perhaps you've heard of it in a different context than what we're going to talk about here. Let me introduce you to a little piece of artwork to sort of begin to whet your palate to get you into the video here. This is a picture of Papa Smurf, and you can see he's got dice in one hand, he's got a controller in his other hand, and he's saying some words. He's saying, now this is a little thing he does to trick people, to deceive people. He's saying in the chat bubble here, "Go easy on me, bro, I'm only level 8. But he's thinking, if you look into the little thought bubble with those 3 little dots, that lets you know it's a thought bubble. This should be fun, because he's just pretending. This isn't really his first account, you see. Not at all. And we wrote here, it's sort of like George Jones said, "Who's gonna fill these shoes?" Because he's really a guy that's played the game forever, and he's just pretending by being on a lower level account. And this is sort of the mantra we see here, written on this sort of Yu-Gi-Oh card. We see the mantra of the Smurfs. And let me try to read it to you here like one of these Smurfs might read it. So let me try to tap into their psyche for you real quick and read it from the perspective of a Smurf. This is the tone and the cadence and everything they would use if they were to say these words to you. pure and unrestrained ownage is all that is good in this world. Now, you may be wondering why Papa Smurf had a pair of dye in his hand in the first place. Part of it, of course, is you can trick the digital gamers into thinking that you're more of a traditional board game guy by having those dye in your hand. But the second part of the whole thing is a lot more serious. It represents something bigger than what a lot of people can even imagine. It is said that there are gamers who have been lost to time. Gamers who came and went during a time when the pinnacle of gaming was rolling a pair of snake eyes. Just think what they could have done with the gaming landscape today. I imagine them looking up or looking down, actually looking down from above, looking at all of us, looking at me with a rune plate body running around the land of RuneScape. I imagine them looking down with smiles and tears in their eyes. Sure, the pinnacle they ever saw was a pair of snake eyes, but they're able to roll that dice today, betting on whether or not I'm going to win that next stake. Thank you. Okay, let's look at a little historical analysis of the word smurfing. Used to, smurfing was when a lady would paint her entire body blue to entice a confident alpha male. And of course, you'd have some wildcat ladies that would go after a man only if he would paint himself blue. That was sort of the role reversal of it all. You saw it really skyrocket, people painting themselves blue to attract mates. You saw it skyrocket after that Avatar movie came out. In fact, the cleaning crews said that it was the absolute worst time to work at a movie theater because they had to get out ladders to clean off all the lipstick on the movie theater screen because the ladies seeing these guys that were all blue, they were running up to the screen and kissing the screen. Hello everybody, this is a quick video edit. Many of you may be wondering where the whole ladder part came into the equation when the cleaning crews were cleaning off the lipstick stains off of the movie theater screens. Well, to explain that to you here, the wildcat ladies would actually get some of their gal pals to let them stand atop their shoulders so they could kiss any part of the screen they wanted, even higher than where you could normally reach. So that should explain to you why ladders were required, because these ladies were performing kisses pretty high up because the wildcats were standing on the shoulders of their gal pals. I hope that explains things for you. I remember after that Avatar movie came out, a lady could scarcely find herself a date without at least heavily applying the blue mascara. And a man, if he wanted a confident wildcat lady, as they called themselves, he had to at least put a little bit of paint, blue paint cologne on his neck there, or that wildcat is going to turn up her snout. Nowadays, smurfing is a little bit different. Doesn't mean that anymore. And hey, for any of you criminals out there, we're not talking about that type of smurfing. But let's look at the definition as it relates to video games. Alright, as Donald Trump might say, you ready? Here is the definition of smurfing as it relates to gaming. When an experienced player uses a low-level account so they can be matched against lower-leveled opponents so they can dominate them. Now, I see some gamers sort of shaking their heads right now, trying to wrap their heads around that definition. Well, let me put it into gamer language for you. When an elite gamer makes a new account to pawn the noobs for epic onage. And we've got the number 3 for E several times in there. And we also have the number 0 for O in noobs. When an elite gamer makes a new account to pawn the noobs for epic onage. So hopefully now you all are understanding what that definition is. Now we're going to look into the psychological dynamics of smurfing. Get ready, folks, because I assure you, you're going to want to hear this. This is going to astound you. Okay, so let's look at the first part of this whole smurfing thing. Let's say I have a level 1000 account on League of Legends. I make a new account. I'm about level, maybe level 7 in League of Legends. I'm in the chat box before the game begins, and maybe I even type something like this. If you read that, it says, "What's up, everybody? Mario Bros. Vet here. Time to take over a new generation of gaming. I'm gonna be this purple Incredible Hulk, Dr. Mando, and I've named myself Lord Luigi. So people, they're gonna think this guy's a real punk. He thinks because he played Mario Bros. On the NES that he's gonna be good at MOBAs. What a loser. We're going to destroy this guy." And then you can tell I've tactically spaced the words wrong and just spelled the words wrong and got the name wrong of Mr. Mundo from League of Legends. So all that coincides to make people think that it's just going to be a cakewalk, that I'm the biggest noob to ever play the game. And then, of course, I've really got a level 1000 main account, and I completely and utterly destroy and dominate the players in that lobby. So then by the time it's all said and done and we're in the game lobby together, they're going to be saying to me, "How many times have you saved Princess Peach, Lord Luigi?" And that's the first thing about smurfing, what it does for people. It lets them bathe in false glory. Alright, fans, so I've done something here that is even better than a peer-reviewed study, because I've thoroughly reviewed it myself, read it over and over again. I really did some research and wrote these words down. It's an entire essay, or at least a couple of paragraphs, that show you how bathing in false glory is a very dark part of smurfing and a dark thing for your psyche overall. And it shows how more broadly this relates to antisocial disorders that seem to be the progenitor of smurfing. Now you can see here, I've got some words here. And for those of you that appreciate psychology, you're going to love this. Let's get right into it. So we talked about just now bathing in false glory. Smurfing allows the veteran, or at least mildly experienced player, to concoct an entirely false narrative surrounding his origin story and his relations to his game of choice. This is all done in a way to maximize the underestimation of expectation directed at the smurf. So when he is inevitably dominating the truly inexperienced low-level players he's made himself be matched with, he can get an adrenaline rush and a high comparable to many street narcotics. Then, when the game is over and he's gotten his false glory and an authentic accomplishment, he can convince himself it's all rightfully earned, since he had the ingenuity to create the smurf directed at this purpose in the first place. The truly psychologically imbalanced smurf can involve himself in a never-ending cycle of smurf creation, where he never truly improves upon himself, but continuously convinces himself he's God's gift to the video game world through his artificial domination over new players. Psychologically, it's a brilliant way to permanently stunt your growth and to not necessarily experience any bad side effect from doing so. You can live your entire gaming life rewarding yourself for no real victory. The trouble comes from when you are forced to face another superior Smurf and finally face a real challenge after engineering so many fake ones. The trauma to the psyche inflicted by your loss in that situation can permanently damage you, or at least leave you with long-lasting pain that either finally causes you to improve upon yourself or, and this is the more likely outcome, causes you to double down in the cognitive dissonance and shatter your psyche even further. This is the more likely outcome because what drove you to become a Smurf in the first place was the desire to engage in deception and indulge in the false victories that followed that deception. It is usually only the very top percent, the elite of the elite Smurfs, the odd individuals who are so skilled there was no need for them to become Smurfs in the first place, that emerge from the Smurfing lifestyle unscathed by any fracturing of the psyche, aside from whatever initial fragility existed there in the first place that caused them to become a Smurf in the first place. And many of these individuals are classic sociopaths, which at least partially explains their involvement in Smurfing. And listen, that's not to say that sometimes there aren't more complicated examples, that sometimes there aren't more nuanced forms of Smurfing. For example, I can think of the big fast food corporate executive that comes to a normal fast food chain, and he's wearing the normal fast food uniform like the minimum wage workers would wear, and he's working the drive-thru, but he's speaking so eloquently into the drive-thru. You know, he's saying things like, "How do you do? May I take your order, sir?" and stuff like that. And people are thinking, "Wow, where'd this guy come from? Who's this? Who's the new guy? Who's this guy?" And then, of course, the big fast food corporate executive that's pretending to be the minimum wage fast food chain worker opens up his uniform. He's got a suit and tie on underneath. So that's another example of Smurfing. And I can give you another. Many years back, I attended a big health event. People were looking into how to replace human arms that had carpal tunnel, replacing them with robot arms. The speaker at the event, he wasn't particularly well informed or speaking in an interesting way, so I decided to whip out my Game Boy, and I've got Pokemon Gold in there. Now I open up my party, and I've got, and we call it in the Pokemon world, we call it a party, Pokemon party, for those of you that are not in the know. And I've gotten 4 Bellsprouts in my party, and I'm standing outside of the fire gym. So I sort of, lean over to my buddy that's sitting next to me, and I show him the Game Boy a little bit. I show him the gym I'm standing next by in the party, and I say to him, "Man, I just can't seem to beat this guy. No matter how hard I try, I just can't seem to beat this guy." And of course, my friend, he's shaking his head, probably thinking I'm the biggest noob in the world, because grass is weak against fire and all that. Then later on, we leave the event, we're driving in the limo, or riding home in the limo. I accidentally leave the Game Boy on near where my friend is seated. He picks it up, he looks at my PC, he looks at my profile, and he sees that I've got 16 badges, and that I've gotten over 30 level 100 Pokemon, including a level 100 Ho-Oh and a level 100 Red Gyarados. So later on that night, he sort of comes over to me, and he pats me on the back pretty hard, and he's gritting his teeth, and he says to me, "You son of a gun." So that's sort of an example of an innocent Smurfing hijinks there. Now, I've written another concluding essay. I'd like to thank you all for watching. I hope you learned a thing or two about psychology, and I hope that you've learned about Smurfs. I'm sure many of you thought it was just a fun little distracting thing that people did. You didn't realize the darker underlying motives. So you see, Smurfing, even in the gamer fashion, can take on many different forms that even extend to real life. But the main through line we see with smurfing is that desire for deception and effortless onage and glory. It finds its birthplace in a depraved and broken psyche and is nurtured by that same brokenness. At the end of the day, smurfing, in the vast majority of cases, outside of the case that I mentioned that involved myself participating in some harmless hijinks, is practiced by the morally depraved and sociopathic. It's hard to say how we can practically rid the world of smurfs outside of very strict and intrusive regulations. Perhaps there's a way for game developers to identify known smurfs and match smurfs only with other smurfs to effectively negate their purpose for smurfing in the first place. Or perhaps we as veteran players just have to inform new players to learn to recognize smurfs and know the signs to look out for. For example, names like Brand New Player or Monopoly Man 92. We as vets could also give new players talking points so they can forcefully speak out when a smurf is in their lobby. Like, for example, when they notice the signs and they're able to see that there's a smurf in the lobby, because we true and brave vets were able to inform them of the giveaways, perhaps we give them some talking points to say, like, get off of my turf, smurf, or something like that. We should also inform these newer players that there's no shame in quitting and leaving the game when a smurf is spotted. We vets may not like giving new players tips, but in this case, it is necessary. After all, the only thing worse than a new player is a smurf. We may never completely eliminate smurfs, but we can all work together to mitigate their harmful effect on gaming society and the world at large.